Okay, Dennis, here we go. We are going to set up some procedural foliage here for part of this map. So one thing, Scissory said that we can't put foliage on the persistent level. As far as I can tell, that's okay. But if not, what you want to do is on your level, make sure you're on the proper tile. Make sure your level matches whatever tile you're working on. So you see this is X0, Y2. So if I put foliage here, it's going to attach that foliage to this tile X1, Y2, but it'll be over here, so it can cause problems later. So make sure that whatever tile you're working on is the same for your level. So here we're going to be, this one's kind of in between two levels, but we'll work a lame tile. Can I select them both? No. Yeah. Can I select both over here? No, that's a really good question. No. I don't think it should matter, but that's okay. We'll work over here. We'll set up a foliage generator right down in here. So we are X1, Y2. So now we're in the proper tile. Now to set up your procedural foliage, you have to do a few things first. You have to have some static mesh foliage created. So we're going to say foliage here, and we're going to call this static mesh foliage mushroom glow 001. All right. Now I've got 5 different mushrooms, so we're going to want 5 of these. So I'm just going to select this. And if you put the 001 at the end, it will automatically append with a 002, and then a 003, etc. So we're going to make 5 of them. I should be doing this locally to show you instead of in source control, so I don't have to wait each time, but oh well. It's okay. Alright, so we have our mesh foliages. Now we just got to go set those up and put the proper models in there. So we just want our mushrooms. And now we want to look down here. This is how it's going to generate the foliage. So for trees and stuff, if the origin is straight at the bottom, you want the minimum to be a little lower. Luckily on these, I made the origin a little bit higher, so they're going to sink down into the ground anyway. You can control how much of an angle it gets, how much random in the angle. I try not to go over like 3 degrees, particularly with the pitch, otherwise you get some really weird things happening. This height looks crazy, but we're going to leave it and we'll play with it. So you have this culling distance. This is going to determine how far you show objects, and we'll play with how it's looking and the optimization as we go forward with those. So we're going to leave those at the default right now. All right. I also think that growing these on 45-degree slopes is probably a little steep, but we'll try it, and then if we don't like it, we'll mess with it. I forgot to change the random pitch on the last one, but that's okay. Alright, so now we have all these static mesh foliage items set up. And now we want to make a procedural foliage item. But to do that, before you can do that, if we look under foliage, you see there's nothing here, right? Like it's, you can't put a procedural foliage. So you go up to edit and editor preferences, and then just search for procedural. and turn on procedural foliage. Now that that's set, so now we can go in and create a procedural foliage spawner. So we'll do that, and we're just going to call this just the shroom spawner. So then once we have your procedural foliage generator, we're going to pop it out here into the map, and you see we have this PFS over here. And if we go look, we want 5 foliage types in here. And we're just going to search for PFS or SMF because we know we made those static mesh foliages. We'll just load in each mushroom. Alright, so we have all of our mushrooms loaded in. Alright, and we have this spawner here. So now we need to actually add the volume. So we have the spawner in place, but we need the volume as well to tell it where it's going to spawn. So we actually didn't need to scale that first guy, but that's okay. So now under our procedural foliage volume, we're going to go tell it to use our shroom spawner. And then we're going to resimulate. And boom, we got tons of mushrooms all over the place. So what is going on there? Looks kind of neat, right? But they're too big, they're too many. So we're going to go in and mess with our spawner a little bit. So not there. Oh, you know what? It's under the static mesh. That's right. So if we go into each of these static meshes, we go under growth and procedural and into clustering. So these numbers here, these number of steps, that's going to be how many times it throws in clusters there and how close it'll let things get to each other. And you just have to kind of play with these numbers here. If you want stuff more spread out, then up your collision radius right here. So you can see the collision radius is 100. So if we want those more spread out, we need to up this number. But for growth, we want to scale them. They're way too big, right? So we want those at like 0.1 to 3 is fine. We'll get some really big ones if we want. We'll see how it looks. And you can control the scale curve, like how many it has. So right now it's a nice even curve, so it's going to have an even amount from 0.1 to 3. Whereas if you were to add a key here and move this up, then it's going to have, you know, very few at that small size, and then they're all going to be really big. So we're not going to do that, but that's okay. And anytime you do this, you have to resimulate, but we need to go in and change all of the settings and for all of these because they're all jacked up. I should have just done one at a time to show you, but that's okay. So it happens now if I resimulate. It should be nice and spread out. with lots of size variance. I do see the little ones in there. We just haven't, there's still way too many. So we'll go in and fix that. There we go. That's a little better. There's still way too many, but the rotation looks good. They look naturally placed. And I cripple the computer. Oh, it's not that bad actually. For everything that's going on, really not bad. I haven't set up collision. Maybe I have. Nope. So we need to go in and set collision on these. But here we have a nice, sweet looking mushroom forest. Super easy. And I will go in and reduce the number and the clustering. Now the beauty of this is once you have this foliage in place, if you go into the foliage mode, you have this button called reapply. So if you select these things here and tell it that you want the density to be less, we'll take the density in half. And then if I take this reapply brush and paint over, you can change all of these settings to change when you paint over. I don't know why it's not working actually. Huh, that's weird. I can go in and erase, which I would do, but so instead of erasing like that, to get cool clusters, I would go up to my brush. Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it in foliage. Never mind, I'm lying to you. Oh well. But that's okay. You can go in and kind of manually pull out areas to get clusters. Lower the count on the screen. Look, just taking those away, we're already getting 20 FPS. And if I wanted some with different colors, I can go in and set up a new material instance with some new meshes. I can duplicate a few of the meshes. Whoops. Let's take a look. So see, from ground level, it still looks super duper dense. There's stuff everywhere. In fact, we're going to go pull some of it out. Still, there's just way too much. But it's running great. You can see I'm staying above 100 FPS, and there is a lot going on right now. I mean, we got grass. Now, I did reduce the grass culling distance, so it's really close. So you can't see the grass in the distance. That's just something we're going to have to deal with. But as we put mesh placement out, you know, as more meshes get placed in rocks and towns and creatures, you're not going to notice. So we just need to set up collision on the mushrooms, and I might even want to consider raising them up a little bit, like making my Z offset a little more so they look a little taller, and maybe making some smaller ones as well. But yeah, this is super neat. And then what I would go do is maybe make a couple really big ones, or different variation of something taller to put, so you have stuff to break up your horizon line and to keep it from looking all the same size. It's crazy that these managed to touch each other with that collision set so low, or so high. But it looks really neat. We have a cool section of mushroom forest here that just needs to be doctored up, and it's really cool. I'm really happy with it. We honestly, we just need to go back into the spawner and change a few settings, and we still need to go blow away some of this because there's too much, and that's why I was trying to use the reapply. So let's take all of these and turn the density down to 0.2. I don't know why that's not working. It won't let me change my brush size either. I simply don't get it. It has definitely worked fine for me in the past, but let's change this to 0.2 and try the reapply. So strange. Huh. Don't know why that doesn't work. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go in here and play with our settings a little bit. We'll call this 0.01, and the max is 2. So I want to take the really tall skinny one, these two, and make those nice big ones. So glow 5. We want this to be huge, so we don't want any little ones of these. I mean, they can be that small, that's fine, but we'll make these like 5. We're going to go turn up the collision to, let's try that. I don't know if it'll still allow others to, oh, you know why the collision settings aren't working? Because I don't have collision on. We're in the wrong mode. Alright, so we got our volume here, and let's just resimulate. So now we made the collision bigger, so they're spread out more. This actually looks really, really neat. This is super cool. At any rate, that should do it. If you have any questions on you know, the procedural steps and how to edit things and get them to go right, just let me know and I can help you with that. So hope this helps.